How well do we know Natsuki Subaru? I feel for anyone who's watched the series, it's a pretty easy answer. We've seen him go through plenty of trials and tribulations, we've seen him at his worst and at his best. But I feel with season 4, it's posing some questions that are quite frankly really intriguing. With the themes of identity present throughout the whole season, there was actually a conversation that took place before everything got out of hand in the later episodes. One that got me thinking about how well I truly know Subaru and how well Subaru knows about himself. Things that I sort of brushed off in the past that are now starting to make me question my own perception. And it was none other than one of the most underrated moments in this season so far. Echidona's confrontation with Subaru in episode 7. I feel it's very easy to overlook this scene because there's just so many standout moments in this season that push this into the background. But this has been on my mind for a while now, more than I care to admit, simply because it acknowledges something that people really should be questioning. For context, this takes place after the gang attempted the second trial. Echidona freaked out and overused magic, causing her to have to recover in the green room, this magical area that heals anyone who's inside. I love the way everything was built up to the eventual confrontation. We've known for a while at this point that Echidona is an artificial spirit created by the Witch of Greed, Echidna. Now, Echidna has been one of the most important figures in this series more than people realize, but from what we know of her, we know that she's psychotic. So it makes sense that a spirit created by her, and not only that, someone who shares the same name, is pretty damn suspicious. And that's the main issue. We don't know if we can trust Echidona. So when Subaru wakes up and finds that Echidona, who's supposed to be recovering, is nowhere to be seen, it makes us wonder if our worst fears might come true. She was the one who came up with the idea to come to this tower, so it's not outside the realm of possibilities that the person who's the most suspicious in the room probably has ulterior motives. Subaru runs to search for her and comes across a bird flying inside the tower. A bird that he decides to follow on a whim. This leads him to a wall that he can go through that takes him to a balcony outside. And who do we find? The most suspicious person in the group. The way everything's shot feels like we've caught her in the act. What exactly? Well, we don't know. However, randomly disappearing to a hidden balcony doesn't help her case in the slightest. Seeing her look into the distance surrounded by these birds as if they couldn't be any more comfortable around her. Birds don't just sit around a random person, it's not natural. They'd usually be jumpy and fly away if someone just walks up to them. But here there's no signs of this happening. When we first see her, we only get a view of her back. We aren't able to see her face. We don't know what expression she's making. This creates anticipation as we're starting to believe that she might not be on our side. We then get a glimpse at her face. She's smiling into the distance. Your first instinct is to assume that she's content, that maybe she's achieved whatever she set out to do. The way everything's been set up heavily implies that Echidona is suspicious and we need to find out what her true intentions are. But as Subaru tries to figure her out, the script flips. While she's at the secret balcony, so is Subaru. He found it with ease. While he's trying to question her, she asks something that should have been questioned a long time ago. Natsuki Subaru, just who are you? This man is quite literally an anomaly. He has solved issues that have been terrorizing this nation for centuries. He's the reason the White Whale was defeated. He defeated the Synarch Bishop of Sloth, Betelgeuse. He took out the White Rabbits and just recently was the main contributor to the demise of the Synarch Bishop of Greed, Regulus. These are feats that are unprecedented, and it's natural to want to question how someone's able to pull something of this magnitude off. Now, of course, we know how he did this. We know how much he struggled to reach the best possible future he could manage. But that doesn't mean the people living in this nation would accept this. Someone pulling off such amazing accomplishments would leave you asking questions. How has he managed to beat these calamities that people have struggled with for centuries? Where did he come from? Just who is this man? Echidona is doing something that more people should be doing. People don't question him enough, and I'm gonna go as far as to say we, the audience, don't question him as much as we should. What was supposed to be Subaru interrogating Echidona, suddenly the most suspicious person in the room flipped it onto the protagonist. We hear that Anastasia tried to find any information she could about him, but the earliest bit of evidence of his entire existence was from Arc 1, where he was dealing with Elsa. When faced with an unexplainable anomaly, there's only one emotion that feels appropriate: fear. We see from Echidona's body language that she's scared of Subaru. This is the moment where any bit of suspicion we had on her completely evaporates. We were looking at everything the wrong way. And it's so easy to say, well, we've seen his journey so far, so there's no reason to question him. But that couldn't be any more wrong. And it got me thinking about all these little details that I've turned the other cheek to simply for the reason I just said. The door, Satella loving Subaru because he saved her, his connection to Flugel. There's just so many things that hint that there's more to this man than we realize. And I feel the best way to lay everything bare is to mention this one detail, just this one that calls into question the validity of Natsuki Subaru. Going back to the very beginning of the series, all the way back to season 1 episode 1, we see Subaru at a convenience store, and after exiting he's suddenly summoned to Lagunica out of nowhere. This is how the story begins. What could possibly be weird about this? Well, fun fact to the anime onlys out there, this convenience store scene never happens in the light novel. It begins with him already in this world commenting on the fact he was summoned. How do we know this actually happened? How do we know that what we saw was reality and not what Subaru thinks he experienced? Rezero is a series that I love to death, but I can't deny the fact that I can't trust a single thing this show tells me. The amount of deception that plagues this series, whether it comes from anything to do with the witches or the Witch of Envy, the world building, any character stating something only for that to be completely false and they actually have some other ulterior motive, or people simply being misinformed about crucial information that completely changes the way we think about this world. This story has proven it will lie to you, and there's really no way to tell if what we're being told is actually accurate. I find it so interesting that Tappei decided to begin the story with us never seeing him being summoned. It feels like such a weird detail that at first you can brush off, but as time goes on and more questionable details start coming to light, it really makes you question what his intention behind this choice was. We were never shown Subaru's summoning, so how do we know he was even summoned in the first place? If this sounds a little far-fetched to you, then honestly, I understand. I could be looking way too deeply into things, so explain this to me then. I recently made a video on the cave scene in season 4 episode 3, and something very interesting happened. The group encountered an iron wall that completely blocks the way forward. Everyone is looking at this wall and thinking, damn, this is a wall. Every single person except Subaru. His first instinct was that this was actually a door. He never even once considered that it could be anything otherwise. No one looks at this and sees this for the first time and comes to that conclusion. The best explanation that I can think of is that he had to have seen it before in some shape or form. Somehow, for some unexplainable reason, Subaru has knowledge of something he shouldn't have. And before anyone asks, no, I'm not saying Subaru is flugel. It feels way too obvious for that to be the case. But we can't deny the sheer amount of similarities between the two. They both appear to have come from Japan. They both have the same smell. They both have a lot of knowledge of stars and constellations. It's clear that these two have a connection. Whether the answers have to do with the reincarnation or even more outlandish like cloning is something we'll just have to wait and see. But going back to the door, I just find it so interesting because it's shoved in your face how weird it is he knows this. But because of everything going on, it's easy to gloss over it and not really think about it. This episode isn't known for that scene because of all the insane moments that happen right after, even though it's arguably the most interesting part of the episode. There are theories that these doors are connected to witch factors, so Subaru was able to pass through the same amount of doors that correspond to his abilities. While this is probably true, I don't see how that explains him having the knowledge to perceive it differently to others. We've seen no signs that his possession of these factors has been able to give him more information than everyone else. And again, it is just a theory, so we have no way to confirm if it's even true. Going into other evidence, Satella's love for Subaru. For him to have been summoned in the first place raises questions, as we still don't know why he was summoned. Whoever did it, probably Satella, must have done it for a reason. If I had to guess, it's most likely for Subaru to kill Satella, like she said in season 2. But the thing is, her love for him doesn't make any sense. She told him in season 2 that he saved her, however we've seen no evidence of this. There must be something we're missing, and it must have something to do with this connection to Flugel. However, with such little information, all we can really do is take it at face value. So what do we know? Well, we know that at some point Subaru saved Satella. We have no idea how or what he did. This caused Satella to develop a deep love for him, going as far as to give him the authority to return by death. And now he's been tasked with taking her life, which Subaru declines and makes the decision to save her from her current predicament instead. Looking at these events and what we've seen from the past 4 seasons, I think it's safe to say that this makes no sense whatsoever. First off, these events don't match our understanding of the series. However, apparently this had to have happened because Satella herself states this. There's a whole heap of rabbit holes we could go through to try and mix and match these missing events to something more understandable. We could go down the this isn't Subaru's first time being summoned, which which leans more towards the Subaru equals Flugel argument. This could work in theory. He could have been summoned 400 years ago and gone through this whole journey only for something to happen that caused the current events to occur. We know that Subaru would only lose his memories from after his summoning, so you could justify this and say that this is why he doesn't have his memories from the past. It explains why there's so much Flugel influence, Satella's love for him and him saving her. The biggest problem with this theory has to be Sharla. She stated that Subaru is Flugel not from appearance, but that they share the same smell of the witch. So the fact that these two don't even share the same appearance sort of derails this whole argument. We could go into the Subaru and Amelia are sent back in time 400 years ago argument that could explain everything. However, Satella and Amelia have different magic affinities, and honestly, I can't see a world where this could possibly work. Subaru's a reincarnation of Flugel, a family member of Flugel. There's just so much that probably won't be revealed until the last arc. What I'm trying to get at is that we don't have all the information we think we do. Just as the general public still believe that every calamity caused in this world for the past 400 years was from the Witch of Envy, I'd argue that we are just as uninformed as them when it comes to Subaru. We have a very good understanding of him. We've seen him go through the most horrific events and watch him fight his way to something better. We know how he thinks, what he believes in, who he cares for, what he likes, what he hates. We know Subaru just as much as he knows himself, and that's the problem. We only know what he knows. When you look at all these little details, they stop feeling like coincidences. Echidona is right for being scared of him. She's right for being suspicious of him, and it's something that we as the audience should be doing as well. We really need to consider if we truly know who Natsuki Subaru is. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, liking and subscribing means a lot. We recently hit 1,000 subscribers, and I'd just like to say thank you. It means the world to me that 1,000 people thought, you know what, I'll fuck with this guy. I'll keep doing what I'm doing, trying to make the best content I can. If there's any content you'd like to see, let me know. But anyways, that's all I have to say for now. See ya.